morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Biol 1022, Week 2, Muscles. My name is Ian Coates. If you haven't met me there in Week 1, I'm your instructor here for this online version of Anatomy and Physiology for Pre-Health. And welcome to Muscles. Here we go. But as well, just note that I will be going straight through with no pause. As far as I know, you never know, the kids or the dog or something might come in here and interrupt, but I'm going to go right through. But studies show there that generally learning anything after about 15-20 minutes or so, you should take a little break. So please feel free to pause the video at any time. Go back. There are links embedded in movies embedded within the PowerPoint. So pause it, take your time, enjoy the show. Here we go. Overview of the muscular system. Remember your definition of an organ system. It does more than one thing. And you'll see there that just like the bones, there's many functions there that are involved in muscles. More so than you might think. Muscles there, they produce body movement. Sure, right? The muscle contracts, pulls the bone, and that's how we move our arms and our legs. Love it. Stabilizes body position and posture. Absolutely. We stand upright. That requires certain muscles to be activated at that time. We'll get there. Enables movement of internal organs. Absolutely. That's related there to the 3 types of muscle. If you didn't know, you're going to know your blood vessels, arteries, muscle. How do you think that banana, after you chew it and begin to swallow it, it gets down to your stomach? It's called peristalsis, smooth muscle. We'll get there, regulates blood flow. Absolutely. We can increase or decrease our blood pressure because of the smooth muscle that is in our arteries. And another one here, we are hot-blooded. We're warm-blooded creatures because we produce heat, and that mainly comes from our muscles. All right, let's go. There are 3 types of muscle cells: cardiac, smooth, and skeletal. Aha, let's go. Skeletal muscle. These ones here, only muscle with voluntary control. We are able to control our skeletal muscle. That's why we can move our arms and our legs. Long striated cylindrical fibers, mitochondria, myofibrils, sarcomeres, repeating functional units there. You'll see these striations. That is very, very important. I'll show you there microscopically sooner than later. They contract very quickly, but tire just as fast. Okay? So when you eat a chicken leg, okay, or you eat a burger, you're eating the muscle of the animal. Okay, about 20% protein, 75% water, 5% organic, inorganic material. Length can be 10 microns, but all the way up to 4 centimeters. There's some long ones in there. Skeletal muscle do not undergo cell division, mitosis. They contain stem cells there called satellite cells. So, a little recap here. We can control skeletal muscle. They are very strong, but they tire quickly. Smooth muscle, you can see, quite different. Okay? There's no cross striation. You see there's no striations there. They're more spindle fiber. They have faint longitudinal striping. They form sheets, okay, and make up walls of the hollow organs such as the stomach, intestines, blood vessels, iris of the eye, bladder there for micturition. That's the scientific word for going pee. Slow involuntary movement. So if you go back here, the skeletal muscle, we have control, very strong, short-lived. Smooth muscle, no control. Okay, I do not have, once I swallow that banana, I do not know of its whereabouts for another day and a half. Okay, so smooth muscle, no control, not strong, can last a long time. So basically the complete opposite of skeletal. Okay? And fatigue is rare. Like when you're talking peristalsis and swallowing or moving something there through your intestine, it doesn't have to be strong. It just has to go and finish the job. Okay? Now, kind of a combination of the two is cardiac muscle. You'll see that we do have striations. Okay? You also have something there, these intercalated discs there. They're found only in the heart, cardiac, heart. Okay? Fibers are branched. Okay? There's this cross striation. They're not multinucleated. They'll have one nucleus there per cell. So basically, just kind of going back and relating it there to skeletal and smooth. Cardiac muscle, involuntary. Thank goodness, because you don't want to be in control of your heart, right? Involuntary, very strong, and lasts as long as you're going to live. All right, so hopefully they're a long time. So skeletal, voluntary, strong, not long-lived. Not long-lived. I mean that you're able to contract, they tire very quickly. Smooth muscle, involuntary, not strong, lasts a long time. Cardiac muscle, involuntary, very strong, lasts a long time. And there's a nice little recap right there. Okay, I like that one. And that's a beautiful slide there. Hint, you just might need this slide again. Okay, just gives you the ins and outs of the three all in one slide. Let's keep on trucking, shall we? Some fun facts here about muscle tissue. Remember, bone is attached to bone by ligament. Okay, that's not muscle per se, but students tend to get the tendons and ligaments confused. Muscles are attached to bone by tendon. Okay, so that's what's going on as far as movement goes, not ligaments. Ligaments, think of your ankle. Your ankle is a pretty rigid joint. Okay, and if you sprain your ankle, you roll over on it, you are stretching the ligaments, not the tendons there. Fingers move because of muscles in the forearm. And you can feel those. If you put your left hand onto your right forearm and then wiggle your fingers, you'll feel the muscles controlling your fingers, but they're located in the forearm. Okay. Sartorius muscle in the upper legs can be longest there, 50 centimeters. Muscles are held together by connective tissue and enclosed in fiber sheets called fascia. Some fibers contract quickly, others not. And I want you to think of white meat, okay, fast and weak, as opposed to dark meat. Okay, think of the chicken. And we'll get into these there, the whole idea of what exactly is white meat and dark meat. And you'll see there it has to do with blood supply and how fast and what the purpose of the muscle is. Some muscles there, they are only needed for short bursts. Some other muscles there are load-bearing, strong, heavy, slower. We'll get there. Generally, the smaller the fiber, the faster its contraction. Exercise can increase the thickness of muscle fiber, but doesn't make more. Some muscle terminology there: fascia, fiber, insertion, origin. Okay, the insertion there, the more movable end of the muscle. The origin, the immovable end of the muscle. You think about that. A muscle has two ends. One of the ends is attached to an origin bone that doesn't move. And the other end there is attached to the insertion end, which does move, pulls on a bone and creates movement. Motor nerve. We'll get there when we get to the nerve section of the course there. I think that's probably, was it week 7, week 6, somewhere in there anyway. But we will introduce a little bit of neuron and neuro terminology there, because it's the nerve that actually connects to the muscle, and the nerve is just electricity, electronegative difference there, and it stimulates the muscle and makes the muscle contract. We'll talk about that. I have some great videos there as well. Myofibril, fibers in the muscle cell. They contain myosin, and actin, thick and thin filaments. You'll see what we're talking about there later. Sarcoplasm, kind of related there to cytoplasm, the cellular cytoplasm within a muscle cell. Sarcomere, the molecular contractile unit. So when your muscle contracts, it does so at the microscopic level. And the smallest unit there is what we call a sarcomere. Okay, it involves these two guys here, myosin and actin, thick and thin filaments. We'll show you. Tendon, okay, connects tissue, muscle to bone, movement. Tone, also called muscle tonus, is a state of tension always present in muscles. You'll see there that when we get into the muscle, the specific stuff, that you'll see there that it's never completely 100% relaxed. Like, you know, if we're sleeping on the sofa and all of a sudden a Tyrannosaurus Rex walks into our living room, our muscles are predetermined evolutionarily to be ready to go when our life is threatened. We'll talk more about that there later. And fibrillation, spontaneous contraction of random groups of muscles. Okay, think of the heart. The good little movie there, have a look at it for sure. It goes into all these details here, but I'm just going to zoom in and you'll see what we're talking about here. You'll see that you'll remember there the bone, there's your periosteum, the outer covering there of the bone, and you see the bone is connected there to the muscle via tendon. And you'll see how this, I apologize if this doesn't really make sense. There's the initial, okay, and then what we do is I blew this up, this section right here, which is then in here, and then I blow this section up. Okay, you'll see there that there's your filament and myofibril, and that's what's going on here. So this right here is what's going on here, and that filament there, there's your filament. So that's how this whole thing works. And then if we have a look in here, you remember those striations, okay, and you'll see that there is your thick and thin filaments, and that's what contracts. And we'll go into more detail here. Just wanted to show you the schematics of how this slide works. Periosteum, bone, tendon. You'll see that here's your muscle, and the outer covering there is the epimysium. Okay, peel that away, and you'll see that the muscle itself is composed of these fascicles. Okay, and we just pop one of these fascicles out, and you'll see that the covering there of one of these fascicles is what we call a paramecium. Epimysium, paramecium. All right, and then we pop one of these guys out, and these are the individual muscle fibers, and you'll see that the blood is located here at this level. Muscles have a lot of blood. If you've ever you know, whacked your your quadricep or one of your muscles there, they like the whole idea of what a bruise is. You know, you bruise that muscle and it's bleeding internally, right? And there's lots of blood going on there. And then you pop one of these muscle fibers out, okay, in here, and that's where we're going to move into this section here. So paramecium, this is this there right in here. There's that muscle fiber, okay, and you can see what's going on. And then within here, there is your endomysium. So epimysium, paramecium, and there's the covering there of these muscle fibers. It's what we call the endomysium, and located within here are these myofibrils. Okay, it's at this stage here you're going to hear these words again: sarcolemma. Okay, the covering on the inside, on the inside there of the muscle fiber. Then we have the sarcoplasm. That's the matrix there. Okay, within sarcoplasm, think cytoplasm. Okay, and then you see the myofibril here. That's where you see the striations. Okay, and what exactly are these striations? Well, let's pop one of these filaments out. Okay, so now this is your myofibril. There's your myofibril right in here. Okay, and you'll see that we take a filament out, and that's where the striations are. And what exactly are these striations? Well, here is your sarcomere. Okay, remember your sarcomere? Where was that sarcomere? Right here, contractile unit of the myofibril. Okay, so there's your sarcomere, and then you'll see your thick and thin filament. See if I can blow this up a little bit more here. Yeah, actually that worked out pretty well. So have a look there. So there's your sarcomere. I'm not interested in the H zones and these and that. There's different different aspects here. Like you could do a PhD on right here, and there has been hundreds done. That's not the goal of this course here. We're kind of taking a flat stone and throwing it against a flat water, and we're picking up what we need to pick up, and we're moving on. Okay. Notice that there's mitochondria. What do mitochondria do? These are the powerhouse, right? These guys here, they make the ATP, okay, with the use of oxygen. So the here, and you'll see that this is your what we call the sarcomere, and you see the striations because we have our thin filament and our thick filament, okay, actin and myosin. And you'll see what happens there is that the heads, okay, the thick filament, some of them are touching, some of them are not. And you remember what we were talking about, muscle tonus, the whole idea there that even if we're sleeping, some of these heads are attached to the thin filament in here. Why? Because a T-Rex could be in our living room at any given point in time, and we'll need to be able to run away. So our muscles are always kind of active, okay, or ready to go. And what happens there, the whole idea of how a muscle contracts, is these heads, when we are ready to contract our muscle, these heads bind to the green thin filament there, and they pull the green filament over. Now, and you'll see that what we call the H zone here, it actually contracts and within a muscle contraction. Perfect, okay? But yeah, there's different aspects to this. There's the I band, the A band, you know, and but you'll see that that's how this goes. And when a muscle contracts, the thick filament pulls the thin filament down, and then it relaxes again at the end after the muscle is contracted. So great little slide here, lots of understanding. Watch the movie, pause it, have some fun with it. Great slide. And here's just another shot of what we were just chatting about there. There's your sarcomere, your contractile unit, and yeah, lots going on. All right, good stuff. When we're talking about muscle contraction, these myofibrils there are the bundles of contractile filaments that give skeletal and cardiac muscle, not smooth, right? Because you'll see those striations, which are familiar in cardiac and skeletal, but not in smooth, right? They're orderly arrangement of thick and thin filaments. The actin, in this case here, it's that green, it's the thin, okay? Includes tropomyosin and troponin proteins. Very important. We'll get into these guys here. And what element, what metal element do we need? You know, Mom always said it was calcium there. You need it for your bones and your teeth. Well, you wouldn't be able to fire any muscle or neuron without calcium. Okay, we'll get there. Calcium triggers these guys and allows the muscles there to go. The myosin is what we call the thick filament. That's this one in here. Okay. When a muscle contracts, the whole thing shortens because the individual filaments slide across one another. But the thick and thin filaments themselves do not shorten. Yeah, the thick filament, it stays the same length. The thin filaments, they stay the same length. They just move over top of each other, like you're sliding one blanket against another. Shortening does not always occur during contraction. Think about isometric, concentric, and eccentric contraction. We'll get into some of these there later. There's a nice, beautiful link for you to pause and have a look. For example, holding a dumbbell at a constant position. So you're just holding it in the air requires muscle contraction. But you're not shortening the muscle, right? Because you're not really moving it. You're just holding it in place. Okay? Muscle contraction is bound by these regulatory proteins that bind calcium and allow contraction to occur only after an action potential has occurred. Action potential, whenever you hear the word action potential, you think nerve. Okay, action potential is the whole idea of sending an electronegative pulse down the neuron. Okay, and we'll get more into these. It's what we call the neuromuscular junction. Okay, where the neuron actually binds there to the muscle, but we'll get into there. But let's go back into this. What is going on in here, and how do the heads pull the thin filament, the actin, across it in order to get the muscle to contract? You'll see there that they're in a relaxed state. You see that the heads aren't binding, but you remember there that some do because of the threat of the ever-presenting threat of T-Rex. Okay, or any other type of threat to our light. But you'll see there in a relaxed state, those thick filament heads are not attached to the thin filament because they're being blocked. Okay, but then in the presence of calcium, okay, they become unblocked. So in order for a muscle to fire, there's got to be calcium present. So in an excited state there, the muscle fiber is excited and calcium is released. Released calcium binds to troponin, pulling the troponin-tropomyosin complex aside to expose the cross-bridge binding site. So the calcium there alters, okay, the shape of the thin filament, allowing the thick filament to bind. And once it can bind, then it will pull the thin filament over and you'll have a muscle contraction. Just another shot of the same thing. This what we call cross-bridging cycle occurs there when ATP hydrolyzes and causes myosin to bind to actin and moves the actin towards the center of the sarcomere. So once the head is able to bind in the presence of calcium, okay, as we said, calcium is stored and released following membrane excitation. Calcium allows the heads to bind, okay, and through the use of ATP, it's able to contract the muscle. And you'll see there that the ATP is used to move it along, and then we need another ATP. You'll see that the ATP is converted there to ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and you'll see there that the process continues. Okay. Now, again, go back and watch these. Pause it as much as you want. There's some good videos coming up as well that will show you in some great detail. The whole idea of muscle contraction is bound by what we call the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay, it's found in the muscle there. It's homologous there to the endoplasmic reticulum found in most cells. Okay, calcium is stored and released following membrane excitation. Then what happens there, the T-tubules and the sarcoplasmic reticulum are connected with cell membrane proteins. Calcium is then removed from the cytosol by being actively transported back to the sarcoplasmic reticulum. This all requires ATP because it's primarily an active transport. So the whole idea there is that calcium is released and then reuptook. Reuptook. Yeah, something like that. All or nothing law. A strong and weak signal there from the nerve will indicate how much of the muscle will fire. I'll read that again. A strong or weak signal from the nerve will indicate how much of the muscle will fire, meaning how much of the muscle fiber will contract. A muscle fiber either contracts 100% or not at all. Okay, a weak signal causes fewer synapses to be involved, reaching fewer muscle fibers, which resulting in a weak muscle twitch. So if it's a weak neural message coming from the nerve, it'll be a weak muscle contraction because it won't stimulate all of the muscle fibers. Okay, a muscle fiber will contract 100% or nothing. There's no 50%. So if you get a weak muscle twitch, that means that there was a weak neural signal sent from the nerve, which means it didn't stimulate a lot of muscle fibers, resulting in a weak muscle twitch. A strong signal, okay, causes more synapses to be involved, reaching more muscle fibers, resulting in a strong muscle twitch. There's that muscle tone, muscle tonus I was talking about there earlier. Okay. Now, when muscles are relaxed, there are always some of those thick filaments binding. Okay, and they're releasing actin. So muscles are never 100% relaxed. You keep your muscles somewhat firm. This is called muscle tonus. Okay, important for preventing our muscles there from overstretching. It also helps to maintain a good posture and balance when we are moving, and also good if a bear decides to chase us, or a T-Rex, or anything. Okay, your muscles are always ready to go in a life-threatening situation. Cramps. The majority of cramps are just caused by dehydration. We should be drinking enough water. I just realized there yesterday, my son, he was, he had 1 glass of water there yesterday, and I told him, you got to jack that up. Okay, you got to stay hydrated. We're 70% water. Over-exercise, for sure. You think the whole idea of building muscle is first you have to destroy it. And then the body goes, well, this guy keeps breaking my biceps, and these biceps here, so we need to build those biceps up, and that's how we have muscle growth. Calcium, potassium, magnesium imbalances between inside and outside of the cell. Absolument. Old age, I know all about it. Injury and inflammation, you can see they can cause cramps for sure. The neuromuscular junction. The whole idea of where does the muscle get its stimulation? Well, from the nerve, right? And so that's why we have the neuromuscular junction. And this is the point where the neuron actually meets the muscle. Now, we haven't gone into neuron, the whole idea of your brain being connected there to your quadricep and your leg, the muscle there. The nerves, it's kind of like railroad tracks. It's not one continuous nerve from your brain down to your leg. It's just like a whole millions and millions of railroad tracks. And we'll get there. But you'll see there that the nerve doesn't actually touch the muscle. Okay, it's what we call the neuromuscular junction. Impulse stimulus brought to muscle by the motor nerve. Motor means moving, okay, because there are some nerves that are not involved in motion. Okay, so the impulse stimulates brought to muscle there by the motor nerve by way of the neuromuscular junction, which is the connection between the muscle cell and the neuron, okay, which contains there the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. Okay, ACH. In the presence of calcium, this causes acetylcholine there to be released from the neuron and binds to acetylcholine-specific receptors on the muscle cell. So, as the neuro message is coming down, calcium is released. Okay, which then causes an effect on the muscle side. Here's your neuron, and here's your muscle, and you'll see that the neurotransmitter acetylcholine there, okay, elicits a response there on the muscle side. And the region of the muscle fiber plasma membrane that lies directly under the terminal portion of the axon of the neuron is known as the motor end plate. Okay, there's 2 movies there. They're really great. They really are. Motor nerve fibers divide among the thousands of muscle fibers. One nerve fiber supplies 5 to 200 muscle fibers. So one nerve fiber will provide the zzz for about 5 to 200 muscle fibers, which penetrates the sarcolemma to form the synapse. And you'll see there that what happens, the response elicited in the muscle from the neuron, and you'll see there that it travels along the sarcolemma and elicits a response and causes the contraction. There are these T tubules that come down, and that response will go down and elicit and cause, and in the presence of calcium, will then cause that muscle there to contract. Yeah, interesting stuff there. Hemoglobin. Like, we haven't got into blood yet, but I'm sure that you have hemoglobin there found in the RBCs, the red blood cells, carry oxygen. Okay, but what is this stuff here? Myoglobin. Okay, so we might be dealing with the same kind of thing, and we are. This one here is found in the blood. This one here, only found in the muscles. Okay? Both are proteins there that contain iron. Hemoglobin is present inside red blood cells and delivers oxygen there to tissues. Myoglobin is found in the muscles and supplies with oxygen in stressful situations. Okay, so kind of the same thing. So the muscles get their own kind of oxygen supply through myoglobin. Oh, that's a good coffee. Hemoglobin has a lesser affinity for oxygen as compared to myoglobin, so that it can dissociate and release oxygen bound to it. Okay, again, myoglobin has a lesser affinity for oxygen as compared to myoglobin. Okay, so what will happen is the hemoglobin will carry the oxygen around the body, okay, and the myoglobin has a higher affinity for oxygen, so what the myoglobin will do is it'll scoop off the oxygen from the hemoglobin and store it in the muscles as needed. Why? Think bear or dinosaur. If you need to get out now, where are you going to get that burst of oxygen? Well, your muscles already have it. All right? That's the whole point, evolutionarily surviving. Myoglobin has a greater affinity for oxygen than hemoglobin because the latter delivers oxygen to the body. Myoglobin does not. So the hemoglobin delivers oxygen to the myoglobin in the muscles. Makes sense, right? Muscle metabolism, ATP formation. A muscle fiber can form ATP in the following three ways. Okay, there's phosphorylation of ADP, okay, by creatine phosphate stored in the muscles. Phosphorylation of ADP by the glycolytic pathway, okay, in the cytosol. Anaerobic as opposed to aerobic. Aerobic in the presence of oxygen. Anaerobic, no oxygen. So what we've got here now, think 100-meter sprinter. They don't really go into oxygen debt. You know, the amount of sugar and oxygen in the myoglobin is sufficient to get that person across the 100-meter line. Oxidative phosphorylation, here we're talking aerobic, in the presence of oxygen. Now you think there that a 400-meter sprinter, they go into oxygen debt. Right? Why? Because they've gone past the 100-meter mark and now their muscles are completely depleted of sugar and oxygen. Myoglobin, right? So now you got to start breathing harder to get more oxygen in so that you can make more sugar, make more ATP. And that's why this is aerobic, and that's why this one here is anaerobic. Okay, don't need oxygen because everything is already in the muscles to get me 100 meters. But basically anything after 100 meters, now you're into oxidative phosphorylation, which you need oxygen in order to make more ATP and sugar. Okay, go into a little bit more detail. I'm just going to look at these three right here. Okay, phosphorylation of ADP by creatine and phosphate, which is stored in the muscles there. ADP can be rapidly created in muscle cells during the first few seconds of high-intensity activity, provides quick sources of energy for muscle fibers to contract when needed to give that burst. Okay. Glycolytic pathway in the cytosol, anaerobic right here, there's that 100-meter. As the intensity of the exercise increases, ADP is produced by glycolysis, anaerobic. Involves a breakdown of glucose and produces lactic acid. Okay, no oxygen needed, so the muscles can make sugar, ATP as needed in a limited way for a short amount of time. After that, what happens there? You need oxygen there to keep this activity going. So during any endurance activity such as jogging, hiking, swimming, all these kinds of things there, where you're kind of going for, you know, maybe 5-10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, marathon, 2 hours. ATP is produced there in the presence of oxygen, okay, what we call oxidative phosphorylation. And glucose is broken down completely to water. So the end product of what's going on in this metabolic pathway is water. you'll see here the end product of this metabolic pathway, lactic acid. And lactic acid, you know, after a hard day's exercise there, the next day you wake up and your muscles are stiff and a little sore. That's your lactic acid. Types of muscle fibers, think white and dark meat. Now, just going into what we were just talking about, slow oxidative, fast glycolytic, fast oxidative, glycolytic there. And you want to think of white meat and dark meat in terms of blood. Okay? There's slow twitch muscle fibers, fast twitch, and there's even intermediate as well. But slow and fast twitch, that's where we'll kind of reside. The types are classified based on their velocity of shortening, fast or slow, and their primary method of producing ATP, oxidative phosphorylation or glycolysis, right? So you have a look here. Slow oxidative, slow twitch, dark meat. Small diameter, many large mitochondria appear red due to large amounts of myoglobin. Okay, so these would be, actually I'll just read these and we'll go into ATP generated mainly through aerobic respiration, need oxygen, develops tension slowly, resists fatigue, capable of prolonged and sustained contraction. Muscle fibers associated with posture and endurance. These muscles here, dark meat, they can take a hit all day long. Chickens walk slowly on their legs all day. Cows, deer, elephants. Okay, those slow load-bearing muscle, those are the legs, dark meat, lots of myoglobin, slow fibers, aerobic, used oxygen. That's why dark meat appears dark. You eat a chicken leg, a chicken thigh, okay? Dark meat because there's more blood vessels in there, these are the load-bearing muscles. They're not supposed to be fast, but they will resist fatigue and they tend to be strong. Okay. White meat. These ones here, kind of the opposite. While these ones here were slow, load-bearing, lots of blood, these ones here are fast. Not a lot of blood. They fatigue very rapidly. Think the chicken breast. White meat, fast fibers, okay? Approximately 4 times faster than the slow fibers. Anaerobic. And the whole idea there that chickens, they don't fly, right? They'll flutter for, 2 or 3 seconds to get out of danger. Why? Because there's not a lot of blood in the breast meat there. They can't handle the prolonged endurance. Okay, relatively no myoglobin. Okay, so just a little bit of a difference there. Okay, there's your dark meat, there's your white meat, and these are the intermediate. Okay, intermediate in diameter, large amounts of myoglobin, and appear red, generate ATP through aerobic respiration and glycolysis, moderately resist fatigue associated with sports such as middle distance running there. Okay. Types of muscle fibers, benefits of exercise. Absolutely, exercise, we saw that there last week there with the bones, osteocytes there, these are the sensor cells, so if you're not applying pressure to your bones, the body will take away. It provides things only if you're using them. Okay, and if you're not using your bones, your body will rob them of it. If you're not using your muscles, your body will rob you of your muscles, and it's called atrophy. A-T-R-O-P-H-Y, muscle atrophy. Okay, if you're not using your muscles, your body is saying, well, why am I inputting all this energy into this muscle if this guy's not using it? We're going to take it away, right? So the benefits of using all 3 muscle fibers: increases bone density and prevents osteoporosis, strengthens muscles, increases balance coordination, increases the production of good mood hormones such as serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins, possibly prevents and reverses mild depression. Absolutely, those endorphins after a great workout, woo, woo, you feel great. Absolutely. Helps decrease stress. Exercise is a huge stress decreaser. Lowers inflammation in the body. Moderate exercise help prevents type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Exercise, and you know, exercise doesn't have to, you don't have to go to the gym. Exercise can just be going and walking and getting those muscles moving. You get the muscles moving, you get the blood moving, you get the heart moving. The heart's a muscle, right? Yeah, you got to train it. Two types of muscle contractions, isometric, isotonic. Isometric, no work done, expended as heat. Muscles do not contract, develops tension. Tension is less than resistance, holding oneself against gravity, or can't lift an object because it's too heavy. Okay, so you're not really moving it, you're just holding it in place. Isotonic, where the resistance is less than the tension, muscles contract fully, resulting in work done. Picking up, lifting up a pair of shoes and putting them on the table. Okay, full muscle contraction. Not so for isometric. Okay, let's get into a little bit of muscle anatomy. Number of muscles. No, there's more than 600. Largest muscle, these are the gluteus maximus. Okay. Smallest muscle, stapedius in the middle ear. Okay. Longest muscle, sartorius from hip to knee. Good stuff. Muscle names and their definitions. Now, there's no real rhyme or reason, okay, to how a muscle is named. It's just named, and it's there's lots of different ways of naming it. Maximus, minimus, major, like your pectoral major, pectoral minor. Longus, rectus, parallel to midline. Transverse, perpendicular, oblique, flexor, extensor, abductor, adductor, deltoid, trapezius, bicep, tricep, quads. Okay, bicep has 2 origins. Tricep, located on the back of the arm, has 3 origins. You remember your origins, right? What's going on here? Where was that? Just to make sure. Where was that? Right there. Origin. Immovable part of the muscle, anchored to the bone. So the origin is not moving. Now I gotta find that again. I should have known. What slide was that? Oh yeah, keep going. Right there. So your origin, the immovable part of the muscle. Quadricep, located in the upper thigh, has 4 origins. Okay, just you might see a question there from one of these guys here. Just what does minimus mean? Or adductor or abductor. We'll get there. Muscle names and functions there. By function, we can name the some muscles there, okay, by their function. And you'll see there, levitator scapulae. Levitate, raises the scapulus. Extensor digitorum, extends the fingers or toes. We can name muscles there by attachment, okay, by merging of their origin and insertion attachment points there. Sternocleidomastoides. Sorry, it's too early in the morning here. Sternocleidomastoides. All right. Boy, where's my coffee? Tongue twisting there in a muscle PowerPoint. That's your sternum, clavicle, and your mastoid process. Just talking about where the muscle attaches. Okay. Sternohyoides. That's the sternum and the hyoid bone. Okay. Position, shape, description there of the name and location. Rectus femoris, serratus anterior. Serratus is sawtooth. Okay. External obliques. You get it. Figurative. Gastrocnemius. Gastro. Okay. That means stomach. And this is your calf muscle. And for some reason, somebody thought that the calf muscle resembles the stomach. So we're just going to call the calf muscle in reference there to the digestive system. Hey, I didn't make the system. I'm just reporting it. Don't hate the messenger. Trapezius, these are located there on top of the shoulders there, in between the neck, resembles a tablet. Deltoid, these are the shoulder muscles. Delta tends to be a triangle, and that's what these guys are shaped like. So, there is no rhyme or reason to how muscles are named. Oh, Sorry. Origin and insertion. As we've already stated there, the end of the muscle that does not move. Unmoving. Insertion. That's the end of the muscle that does move. And then there's the belly. That's the meat of the muscle. That's where the muscle kind of fattens out in the middle during a maximal contraction. 4 types of muscles involved in any action. Prime movers, also called the agonist. When we do complex movements, it is the main muscle that performs the contraction. Antagonist, muscles that muscles that must do the opposite of the agonist during complex movement. And if you've taken physics there, and if you're in this course here, you're probably as well into Physics 1006. And probably next week 3 or week 4, you'll be getting into Newtonian physics and the whole third law, Newton's third law there. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Okay, and if you're pushing against the wall, funny enough, the wall is pushing back against you. Believe it or not, it really is. And so if a muscle is going to move and go in a certain direction, there is also a force opposing it in the opposite direction. So that's where we get this agonist and antagonist, okay, muscles there that must do the opposite of the agonist during the complex movement. Think bicep, tricep, okay? When the bicep is working, the tricep is stabilizing. Fixators and fixation, stabilized body allowing the prime movers to work. Synergist, they control, stabilize joints involved there in the action there for the prime mover. Like if you're doing bicep curls at the gym, your feet and legs are absolutely involved in that, even though you are, you're lifting a barbell with your arm. But your legs, the muscles of your back, your shoulders, everything else is stabilizing so that you can isolate that bicep curl. Okay, so during a bicep curl, the bicep is contracting and shortening, while the tricep must be relaxing and elongating. Okay, which is the agonist and antagonist. What about the muscles of the legs as well? They're involved as well. Okay. Muscles of the body, there are some good ones here. Muscles of the face, we have 60 small muscles on our face to allow us to make many facial expressions. And you'll see there that we've been talking about origin and insertion, that muscles have been attached to bone, right? You move your arm because the muscles contract, which pulls on the bones in your arm, and then therefore your arm moves. Well, what's going on with your face? The whole idea of making facial expressions, those muscles there are actually attached to the skin. Okay, and that's how we make facial expressions. And it is very true. If you want to save calories and relax, you should smile more, because frowning takes 40 muscles. Smiling only takes 20. So relax, take a load off, and smile. Facial muscles also used there to chew, which is masticate. Okay, open and close the eyes, raise the eyebrows there. You guys can have a look at these there. There's your orbicularis oris. That's your eye that closes the eyes. We'll show you, I think we have the slide there right here. Okay, you'll see them here. There's your orbicularis oculi, closes the eyes. Orbicularis oris there, protrudes lips. That's the kissing. Okay, that's what's going on there. That's your orbicularis oris. Zygomaticus major, that's smiling. Platysma there, depressing there the mandible, lowering the jaw. Temporalis elevates and retracts the mandible. Okay, trapezius there extends the head and elevates the scapula there. And you have a look. There's some. Okay, have some fun with those. Just side shot. Okay, trapezius. Okay, platysma there. Muscles of the anterior trunk. Okay, includes the chest and the abdominals. Anterior means front. Okay, and the trunk, that's our chest. Okay, the chest muscles are used there for pushing and moving. Anything involved with moving the arms forward. The main chest muscle is the pectoralis major. Abdominals are considered core muscles. Ab muscles are there for stabilizing. Absolutely. Sit-ups, bending forward. Just some shots here. Pectoralis major, minor, rectus abdominis, external obliques, internal obliques, transverse abdominis. And you'll see them all right here. Okay? Lots of good stuff. And you'll see that here we have the superficial layer, and we've now removed that, and we go underneath, and we see the underlying tissue there. And absolutely, there's different layers of muscles. Wait until we get to the lower back. The whole idea of picking up a box, you know, you bend your knees and you do it properly, right? Because you'll see that there's these muscles that are deep, deep, deep underneath the back, and those are, you know, these ones here are involved in stabilizing. And if they get pulled or stretched or something, then you'll have back trouble forever. Trust me, I know. Muscles of the body there as far as breathing goes, your diaphragm, this is the bell-shaped muscle, where at rest it looks like a bell. And then when you breathe in, that bell-shaped muscle depresses and goes down, flattens out. And when we get into breathing there, we'll show you that the whole idea, I know it feels like that air, you're sucking it in, but you're not. The air is rushing in because you're creating a negative pressure within your chest cavity caused by this muscle. We'll get there. External intercostals muscles there help to expand the rib cage during inhalation. Internal intercostal muscles there, they contract to push the air back out. Okay, that's these ones here, and you'll see what's going on. Okay, the diaphragm is well inside, in with the organs there, just underneath the lungs. We'll get there when we get into respiration. Shoulder and back here, we're into what we call the rotator cuff. This is a number of different muscles, group of muscles there that help to stabilize the shoulder joint. Okay. You guys can have a look at those there. These muscles in the ball and socket joint allow the shoulder joint to be the most movable synovial joint in the whole body, even more so than the hip joint. Okay. Deltoid, a single muscle that spans the anterior, lateral, and posterior side of the shoulder. Latimus dorsi, these are big, meaty muscles of the back, and they're located on either side, on the back side of your armpits there, extending all the way down. Okay. Yeah. Just the muscles there we were chatting about. This is the rotator cuff right here. Okay. These four muscles. Okay, rotator cuff. All right, and here's your latimus dorsi, deltoid, and just some shots of them here. There's your latimus dorsi, infraspinatus, deltoid, trapezius. There's your rotator cuff there. Okay, rhomboids right in the middle. Okay. Deep muscles in the back. These ones here, these are the ones I was chatting about. And you see, basically all other tissue has been removed, and these ones here are deep, deep, deep. So the whole idea of injuring your back, these are the ones here that get whacked. Okay, so just please take care of your back. Erecti spinae, muscles there that extend the length of the vertebral column, involved in the body posture, stabilization. Okay, moving the vertebral column, which doesn't require a lot of movement, but they do require some. And this one here, lifting. These are the small muscles with small tendons that can be easily injured when lifting heavy objects. Okay, lower back pain is commonly associated with the erector spinae. Okay, just please take care, bend those knees, don't hurt your back. I hurt mine. Yeah, we're going on about 9 years ago, and I still feel it every day. So just take care. The upper arms include the bicep and the brachialis. There's your triceps there for the back side of the arm. There are your flexors, anterior forearm, extensors, posterior. There are just some shots there. You guys can have a look at those. Isn't this fun? Love it. Now again, if I'm going too fast, or if I'm, you guys can pause these and reverse it rewind it, have a look at them, okay? It's all good and everything here is testable. Love it. Just more information there about the biceps, brachialis, triceps, hip flexors, quadriceps, and your sartorius. Here we're talking the leg. Okay, your hip flexors there, these include the psoas major, iliacus muscle there, used to flex and rotate the thigh. Quadricep, that's the big meaty one there in the front of the leg. Group of 4 muscles which all meet at the same tendon just above the knee. Okay, this tendon crosses the knee and attaches to the tibia. Okay, used in every type of leg movement, with the prime movement being there to extend the knee. So quadricep extends the knee. 4 different muscles that come together and meet and then cross over and attach onto the tibia, lower leg. Sartorius, the longest muscle in the body, with its origin at the ilium, at the hip, and its insertion moving at the tibia. Used for extension of the knee as well. Just some shots here. Beautiful leg. Beautiful. Okay. There's your quadricep. There's your 4 muscles involved, all attached here. Your sartorius. Okay. Hip flexors up here. Good. Posterior leg. There's the gluteus maximus. There's the biggest muscle pound for pound and strongest. Okay. The hamstrings, these kind of counter the quadricep, right? The agonist and protagonist there, antagonist, agonist and antagonist there, protagonist. What is that? That's literary. What is this? Shakespeare? Hamstring, a group of muscles mainly used to flex the knee on the posterior of the thigh. So these guys here, it kind of counters the quadriceps that were here. Okay. Moving on into the lower leg, there's the stomach muscle that is located in the lower leg, also called your calf muscle. Gastrocnemius, used to flex your foot, also involved in flexing the knee. Soleus there, insertion in the Achilles tendon. Your Achilles tendon there is located right in here. There's your Achilles tendon right here. If this is cut, okay, then you'll never be able to walk again, but you'll see there. And I have no idea how the gastrocnemius looks like the stomach. We are almost on the downside here. Summary, the muscle system is made up of 3 types. There you go. Function, producing a body movement, stabilizing blood flow, and heat production. Absolutely. Muscles can be classified as agonist, synergist, antagonist, fixators, and a muscle cell is called a fiber. You guys can have a look at these there. It's all good. Please make sure you read the textbook as well. Okay, there's lots of good stuff. Okay, neuromuscular junction, we kind of just introduced it. There was a couple of videos there. Please make sure you watch those videos. Okay, we will continue with that when we get into nerve. Acetylcholine there is the neurotransmitter, and the number of different ways of making ATP depending upon the activity involved. Okay. Muscle fibers there include the slow oxidative. You remember, you think white meat and dark meat. It all depends on the number of blood. Okay, the number of the myoglobin there and the blood vessels involved. Okay, now you remember there that those dark meat, slow load-bearing muscles. The white meat there tends to be faster and very fast. It can't support a lot of weight. Okay, because there's no myoglobin. Okay, and less oxygen there available. And that is what we've got. That is week 2. So if you guys have any questions, please email me, get a hold of me if you guys need anything. I think you guys are doing great. Watch those videos, read the book, and then we'll see you next week there for week 3. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.